All right, everybody, in studio with us, we have one of my favorite people on earth and bar none, one of the best inspectors in the history of home inspection, Mr. Lars Knoblock of Nordic Home Inspection. So good morning, Lars.
Good morning.
Lars, where are you from? Because I don't want to throw you under the bus, but you have an awesome accent.
Thank you. I am Norwegian. I moved to Fargo about 6 years ago or so.
And what brought you to Fargo? Was it the allure of home inspection?
It was love.
It was love. So love brought you to Fargo.
That's right.
What keeps you in Fargo?
My job now.
Okay, and so tell the listening audience, what do you do? Give us the whole gamut. That's do you know what gamut is?
No. I am a certified home inspector. I do residential and commercial inspections here in Fargo-Moorhead area. I also have a company that does environmental work, air quality sampling, and mold testing. You got asbestos testing, whatever you can test for in your environment.
So not only are you doing residential inspections and commercial inspections and mold inspections and radon inspections and asbestos inspections, why in the world should somebody get an inspection in the first place, Lars? Because I wanna maybe cue this up. When I bought my second house, my realtor advised me, you know what? You probably don't need to get a home inspection. And what do you think happened?
There was probably a bunch of issues with your house, I guess.
How'd you know? It's not because it always happens, right?
Right.
Yeah. Bought a house, had to replace the furnace and the water heater in the first year.
Yeah.
That sucked.
That does.
So, Lars, why should somebody get a home inspection even if it's a newer house?
Well, it will help you determine what kind of condition your home is in. We're not psychic, so I can't tell you exactly how long your furnace, your water heater, or air conditioner will last, but it is important to have an inspection done so you know what you're getting into the next 5 to 10 years. You want to have a budget. You want to have a house account where you put money into every month, so you have money for the things that you could expect go out. And when you look at a house, considering buying a house, you want to focus on the bigger items. You want to know how old is your roof. When does it need to be replaced? The same with the HVAC system.
Don't you think it's true that a lot of people look at it without a certified home inspector and they'll say, looks okay?
Yeah, they might. The thing is that most of the things we find, the homeowners themselves are not even aware of.
Okay. Give me an example, Lars.
Oh, electrical issues in attics and electrical panels. No one ever look in there. A lot of times we find mold that the homeowners didn't know about because there's a little bit of water coming in behind the couch in the corner of the basement. Mm-hmm. So there's always something.
Okay, so again, those of you just tuning in, Lars with Nordic Home Inspection, and we're talking about, of course, home inspections, and more specifically, Lars, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a buyer. Let's say I'm going to go out with a buyer, and we're going to look at some houses. What should the buyer be looking for specifically?
I think you should try to have a budget like right away, because you know there will be some repairs you have to do yourself. You can't ask the seller to repair everything. Things won't be perfect, especially not with an old house. There will be things that need to be repaired.
Now let me jump in, Lars, because is it right now a market that is advantageous and beneficial for a buyer or a seller right now?
I would say right now it's probably beneficial for the buyer.
For the buyer, okay. And I maybe would even refute that, and I'd say the market right now, because of the demand, the sellers are at an advantage. And so maybe they don't have to fix everything that they would need to.
Sure.
And so if that's the case, you talk about a budget. Give me more specifics on that.
Yeah, you want to have a budget so you know what you're getting, so you know you have the money you need when things will happen. So you want to know how old your roof, your furnace, does your foundation need to be braced? Is there ongoing water problems? Do you need new siding? Do you need new windows? You want to focus on the bigger expenses and see behind the minor details, maintenance, repairs, minor deficiencies you see in every single home.
Okay, if you're my inspector, Lars, and we're out buying a house, if I find a laundry list of things that you give, because you give the little, the big, and everything on that list, right?
Right.
You'll say the shingles are shot, the foundation needs to be braced, there's some electrical issues, and there's a couple windows that don't seal properly.
Sure.
Should I, as a buyer, try and get all those fixed, some of those fixed, or none of those fixed from the seller?
Well, you can't expect a seller to fix everything. But to me, it depends on how old is the house. If the house is 3 years old, you maybe expect everything to be in perfect or near to perfect condition. If it's a house from 1950, there will be some things, and you maybe would have to meet halfway or.
And here's one of the things that people don't know, Lars, is oftentimes if they're buying a house, they'll say, oh, I don't want to ask for these things on an inspection because I'm afraid that it's going to have the deal fall apart. Did you know, Lars, that if a buyer asks for a laundry list of things and the seller says no, the deal is still together? The buyer can choose to walk away,
Yep.
But it's imperative to know that they can ask for everything, right?
You're right.
And so they should be advised by the proper real estate agent to make sure that they know how to be coached. But we're almost out of time, Lars. I want to talk about the dreaded R word in our business, something that people don't talk about very much, and that's radon. What is radon, and why should it be a concern?
Radon comes from the natural decay of uranium we have in our soil, and it keeps decaying and eventually become a radioactive gas, like radon. Depending on how high your radon levels is, it will increase the chances of developing lung cancer over long-term exposure.
So radon comes from the soil, and you can develop lung cancer. Does that mean that everybody should get a radon test?
Pretty much all of North Dakota and Western Minnesota is known to have higher radon levels, and the majority of the tests we do comes out high. Especially if you have people living in the basement, or you spend a lot of time in your basement, exactly,
right?
Yep. So statistically, it's about 60% lower actually on the first floor than what it is in the basement. So that is a good point. If you don't plan on spending any time in your basement, it's maybe not as important to have a system installed right away.
So if you have a house that's built in 1920 and the only thing downstairs is your utility room, maybe not as much of a concern as if your kids are living in the basement?
Yeah, you would need a lot higher radon levels than in the basement for it to affect your main floor.
Lars, what I love about what you do is you're here to protect the consumer above and beyond anything else. And we put a lot of our trust into you. A lot of our clients choose to use Nordic Home Inspection, and you haven't steered them wrong yet. So thank you for your service in the industry. How can people contact you and get a radon test or an inspection?
You can give me a call at 701-566-1446 or send an email to lars@nordichomeinspection.com.
Lars with Nordic Home Inspection. I could listen to you all day long, man. That's like music to my ears. Beautiful Norwegian man. Thank you for stopping into the studio. Those of you listening, go to livefargomoorhead.com during the break and find out what your home is worth. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch.